This is a solution circle to help you get unstuck. This is a compression planning process, so it's sort of the beginning of the family of person-centered planning approaches. It's a very simple idea. There are three key roles. There's going to be a person who's working on an issue, a problem, and they're going to present it. There's going to be a recorder who creates a record of the whole process, and there's going to be a timekeeper, a process facilitator who keeps the team on time, on track. And the rest of you are the world's best brainstorm team. So, and ideally that'll be 5 to 7 people in total. And here's how it works. Step one, and we're going to do these in 5-minute intervals. So there are 4 5-minute intervals plus a little time to wrap it up. But the first step, whoop, is the problem presenter gets 5 uninterrupted minutes to present their issue. Please assume that nobody knows anything about it, so you got to tell them whatever they need to know. And you're going to have 5 minutes. If you're a really fast talker, some people say, well, I'm done in 2.5 minutes, and they want to move on to the next step. Not permitted. What's going to happen is that the whole team gives you 5 uninterrupted minutes and they wait you out. And what happens typically at that point is you take a breath, maybe two, and then you remember, actually, there are a couple of more points, and away you go. And so you finish your 5 minutes. The process record facilitator is noting that the 5 minutes are up and gently reminds the person that time is up, and we're moving on to step two. Noting that there are no questions, no clarifications, nothing. You just move on to step two. And that's because that trap of trying to get more questions in and more clarifications is how we slip into endless long meetings with that nothing ever results. So we're not going to do that. So step two, also 5 minutes, uh, is a brainstorm. So the person who presented the problem sits in silence and listens. They don't get to say anything. They just sit and listen because there's going to be a lot of wisdom coming up. In the brainstorm, all ideas are welcome. This isn't they have to follow a pattern or all be the same. In fact, difference is a great idea. The process facilitator, if anybody starts to deliver a lecture and drone on, they will gently remind them that this is a brainstorm. It's short and tight and quick, and move on to the next person. So 5 minutes of wonderful brainstorming ideas, and then without any questions or clarification, we move on to step three. Also 5 minutes. This is the dialogue step. This is where finally everybody can talk, but it's going to be led by the person who presented the problem and the timekeeper, because the focus here will be on the 2 or 3, however many, really interesting, strange, new possibilities, really good ideas they haven't quite got a handle on yet, but they were out of that brainstorm. There's some good stuff. So do not waste time thinking about, well, I did that and I tried that and that never worked. You only have 5 minutes. So focus on the new, interesting ideas that have potential. And it's a dialogue, so people can come back and forth and try and get clarity and more questions. It's a dialogue. 5 minutes, and then you ease into the fourth step, which is a focus on coming to a first step. Now, everybody's a participant in this. So anybody can make a nomination for what do you think a first step might be in the direction of, getting unstuck and moving forward with towards some kind of solution, if that's possible. Uh, all ideas are welcome, but the person who presents the problem gets a veto. They get to decide what, if anything, they're going to do. And if they're going to do something, they will select a coach because you never do anything alone. And the coach from the group will check in with the person, ideally within 24 hours, to see if they're moving ahead on their plan of action, moving into action. And the final closing session for a couple of minutes is we go around the group. Everybody gets a closing word, and the person who has been doing the graphic recording, at least metaphorically, wraps up the report on the whole 4 steps, um, and hands that to the person who presented the problem. The reason we're doing that is that the person presenting the problem is so bloody busy thinking about their issue, they don't have time or energy to create a record. So that's why we have someone who is focusing on creating a graphic and or a record. Uh, and that becomes a record of the whole 4 steps. The pattern of the 4 steps is a very simple one for the graphic. You can divide the paper into quadrants, just 4 simple quadrants, and work your way around. Step 1, present a problem. Step 2, brainstorm. Step 3, dialogue. Step 4, come to a first step, and then wrap it up. And that is a solution circle. Couple of additional comments. This doesn't always come to a solution, but a lot of people find that it actually does work. So that would be great. If it doesn't, you likely have a pretty good idea that, this is a bigger problem. So we're going to need a different level of engagement in order to deal with this issue. So you haven't wasted time, you've invested it. Now, who can be in a solution circle? You need someone with an issue. And if you've been working in a small team and you're collectively stuck, what you need is new blood. So you can recruit almost anybody, because they're going to have different ideas. And that's the point. So you need to switch it up, have new and interesting characters in your group. You don't need a lot, just enough to mix it up. And that is a solution circle. Good luck.
There's a few points I'd like to underscore. One of them is, as you talked about it, Jack, in that first conversation where actually it's not a conversation, it's the problem presenter with 5 minutes to present their issue from all aspects. Underscore the point that if you run out of things to say, you mentioned that people might take a pause and think of more. Even if they don't think of more, they still get the whole 5 minutes. The folks in the circle hold the space until that 5 minutes for that step is up. And we know in the written instructions that it talks about 6 minutes a step. As long as it is consistently 5 minutes each step or 6 minutes each step, that's what's key. Don't make the steps longer. That person who's the timekeeper, facilitator, is holding the space for that time. And as you said, problem presenter doesn't say anything during the brainstorm. Wild and crazy ideas, different ideas, really important. And to underscore the point that in the dialogue, when you get to that 5 minute step, that's led by the problem presenter with the ideas that they most want to explore. Not really spending time on, that'll never work, I tried that already. Just use the time to explore the most interesting ideas, and that's led by the problem presenter, who, as you said, is also the person who makes the decision about these are the very first steps that I would take. And it's terrific to be able to get those closing words, which are not advice. When you finish that 5-minute step of the first steps and determine a coach, then the timekeeper facilitator is often turning to the problem presenter at that closing word step and saying, would you like the first word or the last word? And then that'll happen, and you'll go around the circle, record those words on the paper, on the record, wherever you can get them. And remember that they are affirmations or a word about the experience, but not really advice. And we hope that you really enjoy the experience of this process and those very important 3 roles of the problem presenter, finding someone who will be the timekeeper facilitator, the person who's creating the graphic record, and then the rest of the folks in the group are part of the brainstorming team.
One of the advantages of a solution circle is, you're stuck on an issue and you've had 29 meetings about it. Well, this gives you an opportunity in a half hour to actually check it out real time. And one of the great advantages is you can do it almost anytime, any place, because it's short enough that you could grab people over a little longer coffee break or at a lunch break or just after work or something, but you don't need a lot of time. So you can invite people in because it's a short enough time most people can clear their schedule for a half hour, and you can get the group you need to explore the possibility of a solution, or at least getting unstuck. Good luck.
Jack, we're often asked, can the does the graphic recorder or the process facilitator contribute ideas during a solution circle? How would you reply to that?
Well, the answer is yes, you can, but keep in mind that your primary job is, if you're the process facilitator, you're keeping time and keeping everybody on track. So just remember to do that. And if you're the recorder, your primary job is to create a record. And in our experience, that often means that if you start uh, chirping in with your own wonderful ideas, you forget to record, and the record is incomplete. So just remember your primary job and then do what it takes.